Philosophy, nature, is written in that great book, whichever is before our eyes. I mean the universe. But we cannot understand it if we do not first learn the language and grasp the symbol in which it is written. The book is written in mathematical language, and the symbols are triangles, circles, and other geometrical figures, without whose help it is impossible to comprehend a single word of it, without which one wanders in vain through a dark labyrinth. Galileo. This piece is a representation of the metaphysical world, an invisible world to the human eyes. I've decided to use the quote of Galileo and represent this unknown place with geometrical forms. For this project, I wanted to combine different perspectives of belief system. I've integrated shamanism vision by using soft color in this piece, in contrast of the other one. The shaman explains that in the spirit world, the colors are very subtle. In the contrary, when using chemical substance such as ayahuasca, colors are very bright, which I've illustrated in the second piece. As I paint, I give meaning to each lines and form of the drawing. Sometimes I take a step back and give meaning by analyzing the artwork. Every element and forms represent a particular idea and concepts. The mind here is composed of multiple pieces. The bright dark blue represents the consciousness, which is in the first and the second art piece. The subconsciousness is in the small rectangle. And finally, the subjective reality is in the lighter blue. Only with the combination of all those elements, the awareness of the mind, meaning the self, the consciousness, the subconsciousness, one can have a glimpse of what can be universal consciousness. This is for me the start of the path towards enlightenment or wisdom. When one goes through sickness, the pain and the suffering can teach us many lessons. My first one was to become the observer of oneself and to listen. I became aware of myself, my feelings, my thoughts, my emotion. Cancer and all the process to be cured had taken my body, my soul away from me. But by breaking this barrier, this physical envelope, which is temporary, had freed me. The barrier of the physical world breaks, and the only thing that is left is the true essence of the person, its spirit. Once the body is no more, the I, the ego, is under observation. And for me, the last awakening is death. Underneath the cycle is a very subtle yellow. It is a spirit. And next to the spirit, a small leaf-shaped form, a small part of what the universal consciousness can be like. That universal consciousness is part of a second circle, which is the truth. The circle is not fully closed. The truth and the ultimate truth for me is the impermanence of time. The heart attack that I had in the hospital taught me the fear of losing all that I know. I is attachment. Attachment to the self, the material, the past, to the memories. With attachment, one will never be able to be free, as attachment brings fear, sorrow, and suffering. This fear was growing every day. The anxiety invaded me more than the cancer itself. I created another cancer in me. I've decided to accept that truth, that everything is impermanent. That acceptance opened the door to a greater world. I had this beautiful, deep, and most incredible feeling of unity, feeling one with everything. When one dies, one goes back to its source, of where one was born. The thousands of cells, of molecules, atoms, all go back to be part of another complex life, another organism, back to the universe. We never really die. death is part of altruism. We are the continuation of someone else's lives. And when the time comes, we will be part of someone else's life. We are part of everything, of the plants, the wind, the water, the trees, the animals, the universe. Transcending death is accepting the truth, which brings to a deep consciousness. For me, it is the first step to understand universal consciousness and to be in touch with it. This art piece have important elements of what is for me wisdom. When the self is no longer, there is love. I've incarnated through the drawing of the breast, altruism. For me, it is a word that includes love, amour, a notion which defines the meaning of life. In gold, I've illustrated the time which is passing. The notion of time, of impermanence, is forgotten by us, which human has forgotten. I've named this art piece Sagesse, wisdom in French. For me, a sage is a person whose knowledge of life doesn't come from the intellect, but from real-life experiences. A sage is a person who has taken every experience as a lesson of transformation. Wisdom is the key to the way of life. Knowing how to live is knowing how to die, approaching the meaning of death with wisdom. The body is in the position of a prisoner, waiting, defeated, even hopeless. The head is turning on the right, towards the sky, as if the person is looking for help, for hope, or faith. The right is the future. The person is looking for an answer, the place we go after death. The 3 golden lines in the body represents the process of thoughts and emotions. The one near the heart symbolizes the emotion. The other line is placed on the stomach which is the center, the I, the ego, the one who never stops thinking, where words pour out, disturbing the mind, distorting reality, enable it to be present. Those golden lines is the endless cycle of desire, the source of pain and human suffering. The 3rd golden line continues down onto the leg and back into a bigger rectangle, enveloping part of the body. It is the action and reaction of the environment on the body and on the mind. The cycle of the unconsciousness is the cycle of pain. One is trapped in its own suffering with no awareness. Without understanding the impact of the environment on ourselves, without understanding the impact of our thoughts on our emotion, on our mind, on our body, we can't escape this cycle. The golden circle around the head refers to the aureole, religion. We try to find meaning, to find answers, happiness, comfort in religion, when I think that the answer relies within us. The dark blue color inside the head is the consciousness, the awareness. But it seems that this consciousness is trapped between the 2 spheres of the head. Everyone is capable of awareness, and we all have the ability to break out of the cycle of misery. And the second part of the body is not trapped in that golden rectangle. There is a possibility to escape. Consciousness starts by the understanding of oneself. It is the constant awareness of our action, our reaction, our thoughts, our emotion, our environment. Understanding our psychological process, how the mind functions, this leads to a constant awareness of the interaction between the inner and the outside world. It is also being aware of the impact, the interconnection, the interrelation of each living being. Higher consciousness is the acceptance of one's true nature, impermanence,